I'm the raspy. I got the raspy voice this week.
Dance? Anybody want to dance?
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this weekend was Batman Day. I didn't know this.
Batman Day. We don't even have a trailer. I guess we'll cut to the chase. No Batman trailer. Seems like today would be the perfect day to do this, right?
It looks like they're cutting the Batman trailer in the trailer, though. We'll talk about what that looks like later. I forgot Hitmonkey is coming to Hulu still. That Hitmonkey, Assassin Monkey.
Yeah.
Watch out for him.
That old Jeff Loeb up to no good over there.
Yeah, I don't think he's even seen it yet. But we'll
is he? I don't know if he's technically allowed on the premise anymore.
But he's living out back in the dumpster. He's using that as our address. But Hawkeye hits the mark with his first trailer.
Bullseye.
He's not in that. No, don't say that, Mike. You're gonna start rumors and more.
I mean, there was kind of like a bullseye motif on one of the logos in the trailer, but I think that's just because archers hit bullseye, so it just happens to be
his icon is kind of a bullseye as well. If you look at him, and I want to I think it looks like something else, but we'll talk about what that looks like later. I've got ideas.
Yeah, but if you can't tell out there, listeners, I'm a little slow today. I've been run a little bit ragged. The brother-in-law was in town, and he's a Navy boy. That's
is his
10
name
years.
Davey, and he's still in the Navy?
What do you say when somebody's 10 years younger, like 10 years my junior? So he's got an extra 10 years on me. I could barely keep up with the action this weekend, so I'm exhausted, run down. But as always, I'm here every week to talk about the nerdiest of the nerd stuff.
That's right. You're here. You're up. You're going. We're doing it. Speaking of nerd things, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this out of the way, Mike. I was #blessed to secure a PlayStation 5 this week for the first time.
Oh
ever.
yeah, that was a crazy. You thought it was stolen, and then your neighbor actually swiped it. But
yeah. So
good intentions.
FedEx left it literally in the middle of my driveway, folks. And that's not even the first FedEx package I'm having trouble with this week. But I was able to secure a digital version. And I didn't tell you. Did I tell you the code that they gave me $100 PlayStation with it was redeemed when I went to open the email already?
Yeah, you did tell me that, but how does that even happen? I would imagine this code is sealed within the box, isn't it?
It was emailed to me from the company, and I checked to make sure my email wasn't hacked. No hack. I got a hold of PlayStation. They were like, yeah, we can confirm that this was redeemed, not on your account, in a different country. I'm like, those sons of bitches.
That's even crazier because I always had a feeling that when a digital code is sent out, especially for digital goods, that it's just an auto-generated thing that's generated the second before it's sent to you. So it's how on earth did this happen?
I think maybe PlayStation generates them and sent a batch to GameStop, and GameStop possibly had maybe ill-purposed employees who were maybe sending these out and using them or something. But I went to GameStop. The guy there was very, very helpful, trying to get this. But I was able to secure one, and despite my struggle setting it up for some reason, I cannot recommend this console right now. Until they work out some of these bugs. I finally got it set up, and I was able to do the Astrobot game that comes with it. It's like a demo for the DualSense controller, which actually has motors in the triggers and can vibrate on separate sides. And I'll tell you, that controller is pretty goddamn cool.
That's great to hear.
So there's a point in the thing where you're shooting arrows at little other balloons and stuff to kind of pop them, and as you pull the trigger more, it actually gets harder to pull at the end of the trigger, so you can actually feel the tension in the triggers.
That's nice. And
then there are a couple points where you're climbing around, and if you to grab onto something, you have to pull it halfway, and then it hangs it, and then you have to. It feels like it snaps, like the motor flips off, and then you can actually grip it as you pull it harder, which is really cool. So I'm excited to dive into a game I bought actually last year, Miles Morales. and the Spider-Man remaster with these DualSense controller triggers and see if they have any effect on the web swinging, because as we know, that's like our favorite part of the game, right? It's like swinging around that city. So I'm excited to kind of see if that looks like and see what those look like in PS5 fidelity coming up here.
Yeah, that would be sick. Yeah, I haven't been up to a whole lot this week. I have kind of dipped my toe back into the Castlevania animated show on Netflix. Just here and there. I believe they're up to season 4 right now, because at least that's where I'm at right now. I didn't check ahead, but I don't think season 5 is out just yet. But season 3 was a little bit of a drag in the sense of it almost felt like the entire season was a filler episode, which is not good, but I kind of slogged my way through it, and season 4 seems to be picking up a little bit better. But I've mentioned Castlevania in the past on the show, so I'm still in it. It just slowly takes me a while to get back into things. Yeah.
Speaking of your previous recommendations, one of the recommendations the Employee Game Site gave me what to play was, in fact, Tsushima, the director's cut with the new island. That game was delicious. If I can somehow feel comfortable spending $70 for a PlayStation game, because that's what they're all priced at right now, feels like a swift kick in the nuts, if I'm going to be honest. But I know why they have to raise costs. I get it. We've had $60 games for 20 years now, but I'm like, it's that initial.
I watched a very informal kind of look into the price of video games. I think it was more of like a satirical video, so you can't really take it as fact. But if you look at what video games were priced like back in the day when like the Super Nintendo came out and stuff like that, like basically the thesis was like the price of games nowadays it's basically arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
They're getting money from other places. We've kind of just weirdly settled on the $60 for no particular reason. That's just kind of where it fell. I don't know. Yeah. Luckily I don't buy too many games in a given year, so it doesn't make that much big of a difference to me. But yeah, there's probably like some kid out there who's just like $10 more. That means I got to wait another week for my allowance to come in to get this game.
Well, I think the thing is for me, because I have to buy digital now for PlayStation, I can't buy a secondhand copy to test the game out, right? So I even told you this. I'm like, hey, a physical copy of a game's $5, but the digital version is still full price. It's just I'm going to be a little more choosy when I get something, but like at the same time, like a game like Tsushima, a game like God of War for PlayStation, they don't have the add-ons, they don't have the extra in-app purchases, if you will. So for those games, I don't feel bad paying full price for those, knowing I don't have to buy anything else in those games, because you mentioned any other game you pick right now, Call of Duty, you can spend $150 on the storefront right now and not even buy everything I think they have to offer.
But also weirdly, depending on what you want to play in that universe, you can pay literally nothing and play like something like Warzone and don't put any money into it.
Yeah. So it's a mixed bag. So if anyone has any PlayStation 5 recommendations, please shoot them my way, of course. I'd be more than happy to try that. But yeah, Mike, your recommendations goes to I did talk about that with the GameStop employee, and I did say, hey, my podcast co-host of Superhero Slate, wink wink, download it.
Wink wink, nudge nudge, superheroslate.com, subscribe.
Yeah,
he's just like, how are you talking to me right now? This is not how people
I felt like I was looking like breaking the fourth wall, but there was no fourth wall. I was like, who are you talking to? Like, who are you looking at over there? Anyway.
He's like, another one of these Deadpool nerds breaking the fourth wall in the real world. Get out of here.
He's like, are you having a stroke, sir? Anyway, speaking of up-to-date news and stuff, right now, today, the Emmys, I believe they call it the Primetime Emmys, not the Creative Arts Emmys, which we had this conversation off air. There is going on this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And I just wanted, there's been some awards already given out, like WandaVision won for Agatha All Along, which is really cool. But the full award winners we will cover next week's episode. Right now, Disney Plus has 71 nominations across The Mandalorian, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and other stuff. So that's fantastic. Good for them. This would be Marvel's first Emmys, right? Like WandaVision would win them their first Emmys because that's their first foray.
I think so. It's always hard to keep track of the Emmys because they kind of fall like weirdly I guess September's not the middle of the year, but like with the cutoff and when it airs, like we're always used to the Oscars kind of at the beginning of the year, kind of wrapping up what happened in that previous calendar year. Mm-hmm. So I never know what qualifies when exactly. So I was like, wait, was there anything Disney Plus at the Emmys last year? But no, I guess not.
No, yeah, I think my understanding of the Emmys is it's like the school year because they had the fall and spring seasons, right? And they don't really do summer seasons.
Yeah, but also that almost doesn't even really matter anymore because now TV comes out literally anytime, anywhere.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it's just one of those like, hey, we're going to offset the Oscars with the Emmys, like that way every 6 months rather than do it all at once. Because, WandaVision I didn't, not too surprised, right? That dropped in, February, March, or January. But, like, Falcon The Winter Soldier was, like, March. And I'm like, really? They can, like, that would have been up to April. So... hopefully Don Cheadle gets an award for that, minute and a half he spent on screen in episode 1 for guest actor.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure he can get nominated for this week's episode of What If because he technically has lines in it. So
he did. He will. The guy who's won it all for really doing the least amount possible. So that'll be it. But let's jump into the news, Mike. Let's get into this. The Batman Day was this weekend. Apparently, September 18th this year. It's always on a Saturday, I believe, is Batman Day. And this weekend, Matt Reeves showed a behind-the-scenes photo of him editing the Batman. And I will tell you, this is like the least professional photo I've ever seen in my life to represent one of the biggest franchises Warner Brothers has.
My God. Yeah, you got to look at this photo, do the right click on Twitter so you can view the image like in full, and this desk is covered in garbage. There's like supplement bottles of probably things for like eyesight so you don't go blind looking at these monitors for hours.
There's that. I don't know if that's Matt Reeves technically on the computer, but he's wearing a mask, good for him, but also rubber gloves with a bunch of tissue paper, empty cups, and what appears to be a Qdoba bowl.
It is kind of what it looks like.
All wrapped up there in one thing. And I dove into the screen. So this looks like it's actually a screenshot from August 21st or August 20th based on the time frame up in the corner. But it looks like he's writing notes in the bottom of the screen to for review update with increased wobble to gun and revised hook motion. So it looks like they're adding notes to the shots as they kind of go along here. Other than that, I don't see much else. Do you?
Yeah. Well, I guess if you take the literal Batman look of the photo, he's got a grappling hook. Yeah. Right. A grapple gun, if you will. So we've kind of been given rough estimates of how long Robert Pattinson has been Batman for in this universe. What have they said? Like maybe like 2
to 5 years, maybe.
Yeah. So I guess he does have the grapple gun ready to go. So that's cool.
Yeah. I was hoping for more, but they're saving that for Fandom, right? Like the Batman trailer is confirmed for Fandom.
Oh yeah, Fandom is coming up. That's right.
Yeah, so that's next month. I can't believe we're in the back half of September, Mike. So
I mean, I got to get through the Great British Baking Show first.
Yes.
I got to get that first premiere episode done. Yep. And then I can look forward to a Batman.
Got to pick your favorite in that episode 1. I think you and I off air should throw down bets on who's going to win because I called last year's pretty early and I felt pretty good about that. So
yeah, well you always get the sneak peek and get the episodes a little bit earlier, and I wait till Friday night to kind of enjoy at the end of my week on Netflix. So yeah, we'll key in over the weekend and we'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be discussing what's baked and what's not baked. So. But it's staying in the Batman universe. The rumor going around right now is that there's a spinoff for the Penguin character who's debuting in the Batman at HBO Max. Now, right now, Colin Farrell is the lead of the Penguin, but they're unsure if he'll return for this show. Cool.
Bring back Jonah Hill into the conversation, I guess. Son of the Penguin. That's what they. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a comic book somewhere already. Son of the Penguin.
Son of Penguin. I think.
Oh yeah, Son of Penguin. Yeah.
Let me see. Son of Penguin. Son of Penguin is a 2017 Batgirl storyline published in Batgirl Volume 5.
Bam.
Yep. What was it last week?
We
We
on
talked
the fly
about
and they exist.
Venomized Miles. Was it that one we
Oh yeah, there was a. What did I say? And we saw like a shot of him. Oh yeah, there's a new
Dark Ages.
There's a new comic out, and I think I guess spoilers for that comic that like in one of the last panels you get a look at what a Venomized Miles would look like, which kind of just looks like a Miles with a tongue, and I think he's got like more like rolls and like folds in his costume, if I kind of remember right, but. Anyway, what is happening at HBO Max? Can anybody tell me what's happening at HBO Max with DC? Like, there's no rhyme or reason. Greg Berlanti's involved, Matt Reeves involved, all of these fractured universes. I don't know. And then they have all these leftover things like Titans and Doom Patrol that are like apparently Doom Patrol's still like really critically beloved, and Titans seems to be pushing forward, even though I never hear anyone talk about Titans personally. But what's going on? Somebody step up to the plate and tell me what I need to do.
What we need to know is actually what the hell are they doing? Because here's the thing: we could write down literally a whole episode of what is DC, what was theorized at HBO Max, right? But like, what is actually coming to fruition? Not a thing so far. Have we even seen a behind the scenes shot or anything that's coming to HBO Max of these?
Yeah. So, and it's even hard to keep things straight in your head because they had all of those announcements last year at Fandom. Like, I literally remember this rectangular grid with like 20 avatars on it of like different faces of shows that they're making, and it's just like some of them were shows, some of them were movies, and you couldn't really tell either way because they just kind of glommed them all into one graphic. So I was like, I think Zatanna's supposed to be a show, right? But I think Blue Beetle is a movie. And then I think there's also supposed to be like a movie, but I think it's going to go straight to like HBO Max, and that was even before the pandemic and all these rules. Yeah, so it's like, and then it's like, of course, there's no cohesion with a universe anymore, so you can't even like plot any of that out. So so when we report news like there's a possibility of a Penguin spinoff show, it's just like, not only have we not seen this Batman movie yet, which I think it could be good, it's really got potential. I'm not worried about that, but it's just like, come on, what about the rest of this stuff? I don't know what's happening here.
Well, exactly. And I think something I read this week was Superman and Lois is actually uses the HBO Max like studios or something up north, but it debuts on the CW, so like they're sharing some of this stuff right now, which is really weird. But I don't know what's happening, and I wish we just had like hey, here's some rough release windows, right? Like, remember when Marvel was like, hey, fall of 2020 kind of things, and there was some delays. Sure, we did have a pandemic that shut down all of production, but like, we literally know nothing other than, hey, here's some rumors, what's going on over there. And if you can't bring back Colin Farrell as the Penguin, is there even a reason to do it?
Would it be weird meta if you had Johnny Depp as the Penguin? You know, just pulling a Crimes of Grindelwald up in this DC universe.
It could be. What if it's Danny DeVito back as the Penguin?
Oh my gosh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think again. I looked up the son of Penguin. His name is Ethan Cobblepot, which would definitely be a Jonah Hill. Or was it? It was Josh Gad, wasn't it? It was Josh Gad instead at the later point being the Penguin, rumored. Either one, put him in there. Let's do a Son of Penguin. Hell, that's our rumor now. That's at HBO Max. Did you know that, Mike? They're doing Son of Penguin over there.
Well, you heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah, that's right. So when they do that, you'll know. But yeah, I think this is sure whatever. Add it to the list of things we've heard but have seen nothing for. Yeah. So
and also like not to mention this possible Catwoman show or Gotham PD show.
Yeah, Gotham I think is the only one that's actually happening. Catwoman was another rumor. Like, okay, whatever.
This is why another thing I forgot to mention I was watching this week. I'm kind of going back and kind of sloppily going through the Bond archive with no rhyme or reason, right? And I was talking to Chris offline, and I was telling him, like, oh, if this MGM acquisition goes through at Amazon Prime, I almost guarantee with the way the media landscape is, of course we'll keep getting Bond movies like, we have always been, but there's definitely going to be like a streaming series on Amazon called like Q, all about his gadgets, and there'll probably be like a streaming series called 009 or something.
Right, where the other double O's? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, maybe even like a Money Penny TV show. And then eventually they'll all make it over into like the Bond cinematic universe, and And then we ultimately know like the family has control over that character, but I think the only stipulation we've really ever heard is Bond needs to stay in theaters on the big screen. But like, yeah, that's Bond. What about all of his cohorts and friends? They can be on Amazon Prime, right? So yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked to hear that they're already trying to spin off everything from a movie we haven't even seen yet.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing is, you got me thinking about Bond. We don't. This is with Daniel Craig's being the last one. They could literally start the franchise on streaming and then work to a movie. But it seems to be like in DC, if you are an ancillary character in any movie, you are now rumored to get a show because we already cast you. And honestly, that's going to literally jump into our next topic. Is one of these characters who is confirmed to get done is actually the Peacemaker show. Because he was James Gunn wrote the Peacemaker show in quarantine last year after getting done with the Suicide Squad, and he somehow lived through the Suicide Squad to get his own show here. And we got our first still from this upcoming series, and it shows an interesting team dynamic here. The character on the left, the two on the left, the gentleman and the woman were last seen at the end of the Suicide Squad. And the other four are the people of the team. And it looks like they're in, again, a rundown maybe bookstore or something like that, where they're set up shop here. I don't know a lot about this TV show other than he's got to save the world. And the more I see John Cena, the more he looks like Ernest P. Worrell from the Ernest movies. And I can't break it.
A jacked Ernest. I love it. And this is the total opposite of what we were talking about previously, because when this Peacemaker, spinoff was announced, I feel like it was just a couple days later until James Gunn was sharing pictures from his phone of what the script cover looked like and stuff like that.
We're filming today.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just there's nothing wrong with announcing this stuff in advance, right? Or even having these strong rumors, but when the creator is on top of it, right? It'll only be a matter of time until we see the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special picture of the PDF that Gunn's working on, right? So he's on top of it, and he gets it to us in a timely way, which is how you get work, right? How you get work in any industry. You got to be on time.
Yeah, you gotta have that. You can't have idea people. Yeah, there's a time and place for them, but they can be there. And then also, it's actually a video store. I actually just looked at the tweet thread of what the link we shared, and it's in a Hen Lauder's video in Evergreen, Washington, shut down in 2008. So there we go.
All right.
But yeah, like you said, there are things that side characters can come to fruition. Suicide Squad's a very interesting thing because every character in that is very, very strong in and of themselves, especially Peacemaker. So having John Cena, a very big action star. It's the year of John Cena, right? By the time this comes out, he'll be in Fast 9, Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker, and probably more. What was that vacation movie you watched as well?
Vacation Friends on Hulu.
Yeah. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, you can check out that video. That still, and we'll guys keep you posted. I'm expecting a trailer for this at what's that thing called Fandom next month as well. So we'll do that. But take any ideas you have, Mike, for making movies and throw them out the window. You know why? Because Warner Brothers says they don't need you anymore. They have signed a deal for an AI-driven film management system with a company called Synalytic. And if this doesn't reek of Space Jam Legacy coming to life, I don't know what is.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels like the biggest cell phone in the world, right? I hate that when I see headlines like this now forever, I will think of Algae Rhythm and Don Cheadle's face, the two things to ever come together to make me hate Don Cheadle, right? Because I love Don Cheadle, but you slap that name on him and you put him in a Bugs Bunny universe, and it's just what is happening here?
That's he should have lost his Emmy nomination for that role. I think I said when we reviewed that, but yeah. But also, this is the way I showed it to you is someone referenced Osimo Bot from the South Park. 15 plus years ago, where they just had a robot who just spit out Adam Sandler movie ideas at Warner. Was it Warner Brothers? So
well, also there's also that episode 2 where is it the Family Guy? Is it the Simpsons kind of farce one, the Cartoon Wars, where there's a bunch of manatees.
That are doing
tub.
They're pulling out the Family Guy suggestions. Yeah,
I like the story.
But so this is, they say this won't predict what the next $1 billion will be, but it'll reduce the amount of time executives spend on low value repetitive tasks. So it's not a full robot just pitching ideas, but apparently it'll help them guide decision making at the green light stage, which makes me sound like this is the algorithm, the algorithm, Mike, because you hate it so much, to figure out your box office return, your return on investment based on whatever information you're feeding this machine.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as whatever. What did you say? The company that created this AI, Synalytics. I mean, I guess just good for them for fleecing some money out of Warner Brothers, right? Because I think my single favorite thing about like Hollywood and talking about pop culture in general is you never know what's going to be the next big thing, right? You can't always predict it. I guess this AI driven platform maybe will have a return on revenues of maybe 5% more or something like that. So it's just worth it in the end. It pays for itself technically if we just increase our stock value by that much. But it's just you never know what the next big thing is going to be, and I think that's what's exciting. You'll be like, oh, there's this movie coming out this summer. I've never heard of it before. Oh, it's got one person in it that I know, and then before you know it, it's number one at the box office. It made a ton of money, and people really like it. And then it spurs this whole new a vampire genre or a zombie genre or something. Something's always going to spark the creative imagination. So I don't think that's something an AI is ever going to do because it's just too random and unpredictable.
Right. And I think what this does to me is not necessarily say what's going to win at the box office by chance, but I like B and C level movies, Mike. There are some that are really fun to watch, and you just turn off the critics out of your brain, oh, this is stupid, but I can forgive it because we're having fun. And it's not going to be, it can be a $10 million movie and make 50, and that's great. But we don't need to have box office movies, blockbuster movies every time we go to the movies. There's still room for low budget, fun films out there that are good, or even some A24 artsy art house films, right? You can still put out there that aren't, they're not guaranteed winners, but they're still fun because movies are inherently whatever you feel in the moment, and can really dive into a zeitgeist at a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's funny to imagine, how horribly wrong an AI could go, because it all depends on the data that you feed it, right? What was it when the Avengers movies were really? It's not they're not in their prime anymore, but when Age of Ultron was coming out, in mid phase 2 Marvel hype, it was all those articles, right, about how Samuel L. Jackson was the highest return in the box office, right? Yeah. Because he just happened to be involved in all of these high grossing projects. So if you feed that money, if you feed that information into the AI is going to say oh, put Samuel L. Jackson in literally anything and he'll give you $1 billion. No, that's not how it works. Yeah. He just happened to be in those movies. So yeah, I am curious, because also if you think about it on paper, the David Harbour Hellboy reboot, right? Mm-hmm. It seemed to have a lot going for it, right? David Harbour, huge star, right? Hellboy, a comic book property. It's a reboot. All of these things are very, very profitable, and then it just sucked. So I mean, hopefully the AI will have a little tooltip that says maybe don't hire that screenwriter, or I've analyzed this script. This movie's really fucking stupid. Maybe you should get a different writer.
Yeah, I mean, there's different things that go into this, and literally, like I said, it's whatever in the moment. Something again, I'm gonna use last year's reference. Tiger King would never ever have made it big had we not had a pandemic literally at the same time that launched, right? I never would have watched it. There was too much other stuff going on, but when everything else froze and nothing else came out, well, I guess we got to watch it now. So, there's literally tons and tons of unpredictable things that can make something good or bad depending the right circumstances. So this is just hilarious that I feel like Warner Brothers is just shooting themselves in the foot right now. What happened up there? Again, they lost Christopher Nolan to somebody else, Universal, right? But again, Christopher Nolan's a fucking nutcase. He can make great movies, but his obsession with he says that you can't open a movie 3 weeks before his or 3 weeks after his movie if he does a movie with you. What kind of maniacal control do you need? I mean, but either way, Warner Brothers is just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. And after watching Space Jam Legacy this summer, I'm not feeling confident over there, Mike.
Yeah, this is a tumultuous podcast for Warner Brothers right now. Very up and down.
Yeah, so hopefully this turns out to just be something they use in the background that we never hear about again and doesn't change anything. They just can like guess. They can reduce the variance on how much money they should return on a film rather than anything else. So we'll knock on wood. The most unexpected news to drop this week is what we're going to talk about next, and that is there's a Twisted Metal series coming out from Sony, and Anthony Mackie is going to star in this somehow. Anthony Mackie is great in the Marvel movies he's in. I'm not in love. I don't think he's the bad part of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but like anything else he does outside of that, I'm not in love with. Like I'm not clamoring to see Anthony Mackie. Anything else?
Yeah, it's not that we don't. It's funny because we kind of both had this not realization, but I feel like we both almost admitted it this week to each other. Like, yeah, we're not exactly Anthony Mackie stans, right? Yeah. I mean, he's fine. No, like I have no issue with him personally. He plays a fun Falcon, but yeah, I feel like we're not really ever reaching out for more Anthony Mackie outside of the MCU. So it was weird to kind of see this title of just like, does Anthony Mackie on his own have the star power to like launch like, you know, I would say a beloved video game franchise. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Maybe he does, and it's just us, Chris, that, you know, aren't you know, on the Anthony Mackie train.
And that's fine, but like, you know, when you think of Twisted Metal, Mike, what's the first thing you think of?
It's like cars shooting each other.
Yeah, but the big scary clown, right? Like, you know,
yeah, Sweet Tooth.
You're thinking of Sweet Tooth, and I don't think of it in any particular person, so I feel like this is going to be like kind of like one of those. Wasn't it that Need for Speed movie that had the Breaking Bad guy in it?
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah. But I think about cars. I don't think about the people in the cars.
Yeah, and also the video game to me, it's just weird, right? I mean, not only do you have like a deranged clown, but you also have like this character named Axel that's like bonded to his like vehicle, which is just two like giant wheels. I remember it being like dark and gritty and kind of uncomfortable, but also you felt really cool because you're like a kid playing it. Like, this is like really. Well, I feel like this is really mature. So I try to think, like, how do you facilitate a story out of this? And I keep thinking, it's a movie I never saw, but I feel like I've seen the trailers for it enough. And it was that one, what was it called, like Death Race or something like that?
Well,
where...
that was even a remake of, like, even older movies. But, like, yeah, so, like, Twisted Metal in and of itself is, the idea is, like, there are these... I guess a tournament, if you will, kind of like Mortal Kombat, and then if you win the tournament as that player, you get to make a wish, and whatever you wish is, you know, comes true, whether it's good or bad, that, you know, it's up to the interpretation, but like that's the point. So you play as the characters like you do in Mortal Kombat to see their ending, right, and how their ending approaches themselves. So how does this come to variation of endings come to this? I know Rob Zombie was big in 3 and 4. I think he was even a playable character because he did the soundtracks for these. So like that tells you the era of when Twisted Metal was like when Rob Zombie was still making music and not making Halloween movies.
Yeah, but I'd rather them just go absolutely wild than try to do anything grounded. To be honest,
and I agree with that. This is something I would have put Nicolas Cage in and not Anthony Mackie in.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Nicolas Cage, he'd probably do the knockoff, right? He would do like the spiraled aluminum movie that goes like straight to VOD, right? And with like a quarter of the budget. And
that's he can even do the sequel, Twisted Metal 2. But like maybe I'm only thinking this because he played Ghost Rider, which is a flaming skull, which was kind of crazy, who rode a motorcycle around, and that kind of fits Twisted Metal somehow. I don't know, but like Twisted Metal as a video should move forward as they haven't made a video game in years. The video game would fit perfectly in a vehicular battle royale mode, would it not? Like you have a huge arena and you're driving vehicles around and you kill each other. This is like, you remember Vigilante 8 even, like this was the era of like car combat
yeah
games.
I do remember that. Yeah,
so like,
and like the cars have like super moves as well. There was like an Indy car that could turn into a tornado, and it's like, how are you gonna pull that off?
Yeah, and apparently like Will Arnett is executive producing this series, Mike, just to throw this in here, and with Matt Reeves and Paul Wernick, who I believe, you know, are they're the Zombieland guys. I believe they were Deadpool as well, right? Reese and Warnick, weren't they? Yeah, Deadpool. So like this has got some really weird talent all over this, but like I can't wrap my head around what this story will be, because Anthony Mackie's character's name is even John Doe, like the generic John Doe name. Like what do we do here? Like I don't know what's going on, man. So like I'm excited, but at the same time, like this video game hasn't had something released since let me go through here. 2012, almost 10 years. Yeah. And I don't even remember playing that one. I just remember the ones from the 90s.
Yeah, just make it as campy as possible and make it funny because it's not going to be realistic in any way.
May I request one thing that it will probably not get?
What's that?
An R rating.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this movie. Yeah, this movie should be rated, or the series should be rated mature or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the games are M for mature, but give me an R rating because I want the language, I want the explosions, I want people dying in this movie or this series. So the other part is it's a series. I don't even know they were doing a series or who it's going to, but Sony seems to have a Netflix. Maybe we'll see, but I don't know. This is one of those news stories I didn't expect to get this week, Mike, and I'm still kind of on the fence on how I feel, but I'm excited. As a brand new PlayStation owner, Mike, sure, Twisted Metal it is. This week, also, other than the Great British Bake Off, wink, wink, we get Star Wars Visions, September 22nd. That's Wednesday on Disney Plus, Mike, the same day as our What If episodes, which I thought they'd at least change them a little bit, but you never know.
Got a lot of animation to watch this Wednesday, man.
Yeah, we do. I'm excited for this. But I don't. Is it weekly? Do you remember if it's weekly? That's where I'm gonna show my ignorance here.
I feel like everything so far on Disney Plus has been weekly. I would assume, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because it's got 9 episodes. Actually, it says original release date September 22nd for all of them. So it looks like they're just dropping all 10 of these short films at once. So according to Wikipedia, now we could be wrong, do forgive us if we are wrong, but it looks like we're gonna have a lot to watch by next week, so we might jump in these. I don't know how long they are either. I don't think they're
I guess that's something I didn't really consider but probably should have. These are probably, if it's in the vein of a lot of the other kind of short anthology stuff that we've seen, there'll probably be some that are 2 minutes long, maybe some that are 8 minutes long. So I guess dropping all 10, you could probably get them done in one sitting pretty easily.
Yeah. So cool. Well, we'll check it out and let you guys know, but put that on your radar for Disney Plus this week. Okay, Hit Monkey. You remember this from the Jeff Loeb era of The Offenders TV series that was supposed to come together. Remember, was it Howard the Duck and was it Tigra?
MODOK.
Well, MODOK, and then Tigra and Dazzler or something like that.
Yeah.
Those two were canceled. MODOK got released, and I am ashamedly have not finished the series yet. Not because it's bad. I just forget to go to Hulu to watch this stuff. And then Hit Monkey was still coming out. So we had our first image from this upcoming Hit Monkey series, and it looks a little bit like maybe the Archer art style for that guy in the back. I don't know what to expect from this, or what I expected. What do you think of this image alone?
I don't think anybody knows what to expect, right? I have a strong feeling, much like when we talked about New Warriors last week, right? Even if these shows have a great first season critically, unless it's an overwhelming number of people that flock to the show and say and chant to the sky that I will cancel my Hulu subscription unless I get another season, we're probably not going to get season 2 of Hit Monkey. I could be totally wrong, but yeah. Jeff Loeb, he has been axed by Feige, all of his projects, so I guess if you're a huge Hit Monkey fan, this could be really fun for you to get a little bit of Hit Monkey in your life, and then who knows, maybe he'll pop up in an Avengers movie in the future, in a collector's tube or something.
This could be interesting. This could be something that pops up in a what if, the things they left in play, like Hit Monkey and MODOK could exist because of the what if, the multiversal thing, right? That's fine. I don't think Hit Monkey is going to affect the MCU at large, sadly.
MODOK, he was the real carrier of kind of this Offenders idea. I would say MODOK was probably top billing, with second billing going to Howard the Duck, probably close, right. But all these other ones were just kind of let's round out the team with the IP that we can create, right? And then it's just weird that Hit Monkey and MODOK were the ones left over, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if this, Feige just got to these shows early enough and axed them before we could have seen them.
I think the thing is, MODOK at least has, Patton Oswalt behind it, right? I think it had enough pull to be hey, this is still funny, and it's very self-contained and like
and the art style itself too kind of carried a lot of the promotion and production of just like, oh, it's like handmade,
Yeah, exactly. And it's they probably started on it. Maybe they had too much of it done. They're like, we can't really lose this, so that's it. So the other thing is that this series is announced to air November 17th of this year, but and something for you, Mike, Jason Sudeikis is the voice of Bryce, Hitmonkey's deceased mentor. So
Jason Sudeikis is in everything.
Ted Lasso himself is the voice of this person. I was looking here. It looks like Will Spector. Yeah, it doesn't have any like big names behind it unless Jason Sudeikis is like, they knew Ted Lasso was going to be a hit, so like, let's keep it because he's still in here. I'm going to read the description they gave us because this is different than the comic book. So in the show, a Japanese snow macaque whose clan meets a stranded hitman, Bryce, and nurses him back to health. But when Bryce bites the dust, it's up to the titular simian, guided by Bryce's ghost, to follow in his assassin footsteps and seek vengeance, which is not how this was made at all in the comic book. In this, he I don't like the monkeys he trained the monkey, I guess, in the comic books. So that's where this is kind of weird with the not the alien, the ghost portion was not in the actual part of it.
Yeah, well, I'm curious if like this image that we're looking at, it's kind of like you don't usually see ghosts depicted as green. I'm not saying they can't be, and we see Hitmonkey wearing glasses. I wonder if maybe these are like AI glasses. Yeah. And he's like seeing like a projection or something like that.
Yeah, very well could be. So it's just interesting. It's going to talk. So I'm interested to see some animation visuals. We have less than 2 months before this comes out on Hulu. I'll probably check it out. But like, this isn't big on my radar either. Like, Mike, just to, I mean, you agree? It sounds like probably everyone's like,
yeah, don't be shocked if there's not a spoiler cast for Hitmonkey. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah,
I'm sorry. I just that's all I can say.
The thing is, we could probably guarantee maybe an episode 1 review thoughts, but like I think that's as far as we can guarantee. Like just to say we tried it. But like much like MODOK, nothing against MODOK. I think it's funny. I just haven't dived back into it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, even if that's the last of the MODOK show, I have no idea if it's been renewed or not or what's going on there.
No one said
MODOK
anything.
MODOK is eventually going to make it into the MCU broader. He's too big to kind of just leave dangle on Hulu, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So we'll see how it is and see you later. See if What If or this multiverse does anything with these properties. Venom had a fan screening in London, and what that means is they showed the whole movie and the post-credit scenes, so the descriptions of these scenes, no visuals, are out in the wild. So if you do not want to be spoiled by Venom to Carnage, Let There Be Carnage or whatever it is, avoid the internet. This movie will be out in less than 2 weeks stateside, so just kind of give everyone a heads up on that. I'm not going to post any reactions to this movie or talk about it because I think everyone who comes out of an early screening has rose-tinted glasses because you got to see it early and like, it's like, fuck you, everybody else, you didn't get to see it, so obviously this is the coolest thing ever. So we'll wait till it comes out to save it, but I'm excited to see this movie. It's when it comes out, so... anything else you want to add to Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Mike?
Yeah, I just got to figure out when I'm seeing it.
Yep.
They threw a spoke in it when they decided to release it on my wedding anniversary.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll wiggle my way in there somehow that weekend.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. So we'll talk to you guys about that later. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had a new description this week, and involved, I think maybe someone talking about a producer or designer or something, but 2 years have passed since the events of WandaVision for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness when it takes place. So it will not take place right at I don't think at the end of WandaVision where she's in the cabin by doing the book thing. So I think it'll be much later, but it says that there will be combined sorcerer's powers to stop her in whatever she's doing, whatever that is. So
I mean, do we just assume that's Wong? Or like maybe they'll introduce a new sorcerer into the pantheon of the MCU.
Yep, my guess is that, or maybe like all the others. At the end of Endgame, there are hundreds of magic users there. I think they'll be part of that. I don't know. I don't think Mordo will be part of this team to help them. So, but I'm very interested to see what this means and how. We know very little about this movie somehow, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, based on this kind of description, I mean, I don't think that we've yet been given any sort of confirmation who the antagonist was going to be, or if Wanda was going to be the antagonist. I wasn't going to cross the threshold and say that she wouldn't, make trouble, right? Because, obviously she's starting to do some weird stuff at the end of WandaVision, like looking for her kids, right? But yeah, this is kind of pitting her up as an antagonist, and I feel like the most iconic, House of M storyline has her as an antagonist. So I don't know if they're gonna try to dip down that story or not.
Well, I think she could very well be an antagonist, but I still think the multiverse. There's going to be someone, possibly the Shumagorath, possibly part of those tentacle monsters we've seen in What If. Will probably be the bigger villain, especially since we're getting America Chavez and who else is not in this movie though, rumored. But I'm very excited to see this and maybe get a trailer before we get to Eternals. Sam Raimi did direct this movie, and I'm really anticipating what it's going to look like, Mike. I think this might be my big one for next year. Overall, what do you think?
I mean, I'm pulling for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you were right when you said your big one that you were looking forward to this year was Loki.
Yeah.
So I hope you're right with this one, and we get just as much craziness out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got competition. It's got Thor: Love and Thunder up against it, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and the Marvels as well. So it's a stacked year next year. But I think this one will kick it off. And I'm not even going to say anything about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2 because I would love. I think that if the second one is equally good as the first one, we're in for a treat. So, yeah. Marvel Zombies, which were just debuted in What If last week, is now rumored to be a live-action property and works at Marvel down the line. I don't think I'd want to see something based on that episode, though. Would you?
Yeah, it's strange just because when we thought of, Marvel What If, like the biggest advantage that they had going into animation was they didn't have to whip up a live action production, right? You could get a lot of these voice actors to return and everything like that. I mean, if they continued the What If storyline, right, they wouldn't have to deal with like trying to figure out how to bring like Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. back into it, but it was cool that we kind of got to see those characterizations because they don't have to bring those actors back in, which have moved on to other things. So I just feel like Marvel Zombies is more fun when you kind of get to use these classic Marvel characters, but they've burned through those characters already. So I don't know. It seems less special to me.
Well, the other thing, they can't continue because, again, Chadwick Boseman is sadly passed, and he was one of the survivors right at the end there. Along with, I don't think they're going to get Tom Holland to do this. So if they do this, like, what is it? Is this like a human in the world of Marvel Zombies who wasn't infected? What does it even look like? What's it even do? And I feel like as much as I love the Marvel Zombies comic book, which has the superheroes in it and stuff like that, this is, unless this execution is top of the line, like, I'm really surprised. There's no good way for this to come off.
Yeah. Also, this is the first kind of rumor that we've heard of a live action Marvel property being generated that would not kind of canonically exist within the MCU, right? I mean, there's I guess not no way, but I feel like how do you do a zombie apocalypse without like affecting the MCU at large, right? Now are we just going to start making like one-off kind of like movie universes? I suppose it could be on Disney Plus. Maybe that would make it a little easier to get across. Yeah. I feel like if you really want to bring zombies into like your superhero genre, like I don't know, put like a zombie storyline in like a Deadpool movie, right? I feel like that fits.
Blade, like he's fighting vampires, zombies, vampires. That all kind of goes together, right? Like that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
but that's more. But I feel like that's more of just to have a zombie on the screen. The charm of Marvel Zombies
that's what I'm saying,
is that you get to see your heroes decrepit and decaying, right? So. Yeah, we'll chalk this up to the rumor mill, as we have here in our show notes.
Things on a dry erase board that will never come to fruition, hopefully. But
yeah, and I mean, I feel like, I do my best not to dive too much into the social media spheres for a lot of superhero and Marvel stuff because I feel like I get my fill of it here every Sunday when we talk about it on the podcast. But I don't feel like I've seen an overabundance of enthusiasm for that last episode, right? I haven't seen like a ton of memes or screenshots of that specific What If episode. So like I'm sure some people like dug it, but it doesn't seem like people are really clamoring for just like, yeah, live action this mofo, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also I haven't heard like that kind of thing in any of them, but it's like one of those things like that was one of the few that ended on like a really weird note at the end of it. Like, you're like, oh, there's a thing. Like, it feels like that one feels definitive at the end of everything because it had the Thanos with the gauntlet and they were literally taking the last stone to him. So like, I don't feel like that one has any room to be, taken up. But like, if they wanted to do a new version, like I don't know how they could even do this. So it just, sure, surprise me if you want to, but like, I'm not losing sleep over waiting on this one to pop around.
Mm-hmm.
However, finally, our next show after What If, Hawkeye got its trailer this week.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
I didn't know it was a Christmas-themed series. However, it is a Christmas-themed series, and the music gives it away, the whole season gives it away, and it will be debuting from Thanksgiving through Christmas. So,
oh my gosh! I mean, this trailer could factually be really, really bad, and I wouldn't even know it because the Christmas song in it, right? Like I'm jonesing for the holidays so bad right now. I think just pandemic, COVID times just really make you look forward to times you remember like being okay. So like when I heard like the Christmas jingle, you see iconic scenes of like New York City, which is a city that gets wrapped up in a lot of Christmas shenanigans in movies like
Die Hard.
I think like Die Hard's technically the third Die Hard, it's not a Christmas movie, is in New York, but the first one is in LA. But anyway, like Home Alone 2, like New York is a very Christmassy Christmassy city, right? And then you got the snow falling, he's there with his family making up for lost time, and it's just like I'm just getting a lot of joyous vibes out of this, and then you get a lot of fun banter between Kate Bishop and Hawkeye in this trailer. We get a little backstory. It seems like she's running around as like a Ronin clone. It kind of looks like that seems to be the premise.
Yeah, so like the Ronin costume, the history's coming back to bite him in the ass, if you will. There was only like a couple days between when he stopped being Ronin and like when he time traveled and fought Thanos, right? So like that's still probably pretty fresh in some of those people's minds. One of the if I would have to say, there's two. Kind of fun things about this. One is like the buddy cop mentality of it, right? Like, he seems very exasperated, but he's like a trained SHIELD agent, right? Like he knows what he's doing. And like, she's like, oh, I'm going to be Hawkeye. But like, it feels very much like he's got to be home in time for Christmas as well against a ticking clock in like typical Christmas movie fashion. I'm thinking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is technically Thanksgiving, but similar kind of things. Like, yeah, you've got me, and then you've got this other person who's causing, more problems, it's making it take longer. Then the other half, I'm going to chastise it because I want more arrows, Mike. Not enough arrows were used in this trailer because that's all they can fire, and that's all really they do. So give me some more arrows, if you will.
I love the low stakes of everything, right? I think some people, you might think of a smaller Marvel movie. Like, I feel like the last kind of quote-unquote small Marvel movie we got was maybe like Black Widow, just because it was only like a global threat, not a universal threat, right? Like, this is like as small as we've ever really seen it in the MCU, right?
And the thing with Black Widow is like no one was trying to take over the world any more than they were already doing. So it was like, oh, you only stumbled into this because you came back into our system, not that we were
like even WandaVision, like she was like threatening like a whole population of a town, right? The stakes were pretty high there, and her big magical abilities. Like, my favorite shot in this trailer is just like a bunch of goons throwing a Molotov cocktail through a window, and like Hawkeye, since his superpower is like hand-eye coordination, like grabs it and just throws it back, and I was like, this is fun. We're gonna have like fun, like stuff like this going on, and it just absolutely oozes Matt Fraction, right?
And that,
like from head to toe.
And that's the tracksuit mafia, or tracksuit Draculas is like the Russian mafia who's after him in that book, who are the villains in this. There's that, and then if you notice, he's actually wearing hearing aids in this. That has to do with like he's actually like partially deaf in the comic books as well. So he has him here, and then we see a single sliver of the character Echo, who is supposedly she's a vigilante who kind of like Daredevil. She's deaf, but she can see, but she can use echolocation for that stuff. So I think that's going to tie in this, and that's what I was going to bring back to you. Is, we talked about these circles looking like targets. They're actually pulsating circles, so they kind of look like echolocation if you look at him a little bit closer.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
So, I think there's a subtle hint to that, and I think this show doesn't get me fully jazzed for the show. Like like you said, it's the song and the atmosphere of Christmassy in New York that draw you in. So I'm hoping for a better second one, but at least we know it's coming, and we have something to look forward to after a couple weeks break here, when What If kind of wraps up for a little bit. So, anything else you want to add to that? I mean, I want to talk more about it, but there's no details. Like, there's nothing, no leaks here that I felt like could be taken into, other than the fact his wife isn't around in New York. So, like, maybe he's in town for a business trip. I don't know. Like, what's he doing?
It looks like he's like, okay, we've saved the universe. I may or may not be retired. I'm still grieving the loss of like my best friend. I've seen my family vanish in front of my eyes. I think it's time we all go on a vacation.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going to that really funny, like, was it Mr. Rogers or what was that play
it's
called?
just Rogers the musical.
That looks hilarious. I hope we get at least a solid like 60 seconds of what this musical could be, because I think we both agree we'd like to see that in real life.
We'd put that on fucking Disney Plus. Rogers the musical right next to Hamilton. I'll watch it all day.
Yeah, we'll go to New York and go to Broadway and get some tickets. Yeah, I'm down the clown on this one. This looks like it's gonna be a fun, good time, and I wonder if it'll have a little bit of rewatchability to it, right? Because it's holiday themed, and everybody's looking for a new thing to kind of like add to the tradition of the holidays.
Yeah, it's the second MCU property set at Christmas, which Iron Man 3 was the other one, which was also referenced this year, by the way. The only other thing about this is, again, spoilers if you've not seen Black Widow, but it is available for home purchase. I brought my Steelbook home yesterday. Yelena Belova is not in this trailer, who is technically hunting Hawkeye after we saw the ending of Black Widow. So that was a big secret I think they're keeping for a little bit. But I think she'll be not the main antagonist, but a primary antagonist for some of this show coming up. So we'll keep eyes on that. And Armor Wars, the Armor Wars. I was about to say Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I was going to say that would ruin the news that Armor Wars could feature the return of Sonny Birch, played by Walton Goggins, in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I love Walton Goggins. We are big Walton Goggins stans in this household. We'll watch pretty much anything that he's in. He's great. Really, the only memorable thing, honestly, I'm not trying to sound harsh, the only memorable thing I have from Ant-Man and the Wasp, a movie that I didn't particularly dig, but Walton Goggins, he's great. He chews up anything that you give him, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he was a tech merchant, right? Like, he was essentially getting high-end pieces of technology and then selling them on the essentially the black market, right? Like, that's what he is. I could also, or I would love to see the return of Sam Rockwell's.
Everybody wants Sam Rockwell to come back, and I agree. But it just seems like at this point in time, it's been so long that it's just like when you bring him back, like you're gonna have to do it up.
I
big.
tell you what, though, spoiler alert for Shang-Chi. The last time we saw Sam Rockwell was with Ben Kingsley in that short, All Hail the King.
Oh, was Sam Rockwell in that
you
short?
watch. He's like a cutaway in that short. Yep. He's at the same prison. They were both in the same prison. So.
Oh, gotcha. I mean, I what I would expect to see is like, he's a big, expensive, not expensive. He's a big, rich businessman. Yeah. I'm sure there's some sort of appeal or something that he'll do to like get out of prison like scot-free and then get back to work.
Well, and really, again, it also depends. Like, after the blip, during the blip, we're prisoners kind of let go. Like, hey, go live your life. You don't know how much time you have left, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Or he got out pretty quickly after, but. If you put Walton Goggins and Sam Rockwell as villains in the same series, Mike, I'm in. I don't care if Don Cheadle as Al G. Rhythm shows up in this goddamn show. You have me the whole way through. That would bump right up to the top of my shows to look forward to. So. Yeah.
I actually do like what you pitched there with the blip, like, Sam Rockwell, he's in prison, right, and he's going through his routine of like going from his cell to lunch or whatever, and then the security guard is like watching him, and then all of a sudden just his security guard just vanishes, and everybody else starts to vanish, and he's just like, I'm going to use this opportunity to run out of here. And I'm sure once he gets out of those walls, he's a man that has a lot of resources at his disposal. He probably went to what was that town in or that city in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where all the bad guys live.
In
Singapore somewhere or something.
It's like Singapore, yes. It's a
Bad Guy Island. I'm sure he's there.
Really,
Madripoor.
Madripoor, yeah, there it is. I mean, it could be that, or I don't think he's completely incompetent as a tech person. He just, when he dreams big, he fails. Like he probably has a way to get out of there when that happens, like, and show him using some of his intelligence, right? So he's not just a complete goofball the whole time, because to make him a good villain, you have to keep him menacing. So yeah, I think, yeah, Armor Wars has a lot of potential, and I'm setting this up to be really good in my head. I just need to let it go because it probably won't come to fruition. All right, into the episode. That means we're going to talk this week's What If, episode 6. Before that, though, we did get a mid-season teaser, which kind of shows some of the stuff that's come, some of the stuff that's to come. And what is interesting about this teaser is, and it's really about today's show, or this week's show, so if you're not watching, you can tune out, is that, there are shots of Tony Stark snapping the finger and saying, "I'm Iron Man." I'm like, where would this exist in this What If universe? Oh, it's a flashback of the universe that happened the way it did in this week's episode. So I'm like, some of these shots could just be shots that never happened in the show and are just like,
it's just the watcher narrating of just like, this what was supposed to happen, but actually this is what happened,
or here's what it could have looked like, but that's not what we're talking about this week. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. So like, now I'm starting to feel like we're getting thrown around. Some of the things we did see in this teaser that we are missing before the end of the show, with 3 more episodes left, 7, 8, 9, is Gamora. We've not seen her at all in this. The Armored Black Widow, Party Thor, which I thought was going to be earlier on, and the Ultrons. So, very interested to see how this works. My guess is, we talked about, there's one in this teaser. I don't know if you watched it, Mike, or not. You actually get to see the Grandmaster and Korg like dancing at a party, like the Grandmaster like DJing like he was in the first one. So. Maybe that's a Party Thor episode. I don't know. So
yeah, I would. Can you imagine if it wasn't Party Thor? Like, what other episode would that pop up in? Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch this yet. But I mean, if we have to pivot to the actual episode this week, that was a bit of a snooze fest, Chris. I don't know how you felt about this week's episode, but I feel like I was really channeling kind of your criticisms of the first episode with Captain Carter, of like, not that much is really drastically changing in this scenario, and it's just a little less entertaining. Like, it didn't go as like bombastic with the what if scenario in my mind.
Yeah, so last week was zombies, right? And this week was what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark. And what the hell is the inciting incident? Like, why was Killmonger not, like, yes, him rescuing Tony Stark changes stuff, but like, what caused him to go rescue Tony Stark would have been the more interesting thing. Like, what was Killmonger's actual incident that caused him to go save this guy, right? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I don't know exactly who you blame, because I do know like Kevin Feige like is a producer on this show, but I feel like there's other producers involved as well who are making creative decisions, and it just seems like some of the writers tapped on some of these episodes just didn't quite understand the assignment, right? It's like, it's not just make up a crazy, wacky scenario, but like, you need to like pick a moment in time where things change.
Yep.
So it's just like, you can't just say like Killmonger like shows up and saves Tony.
Yeah. That's
what made him go there.
Yeah, that's a big event, but like, that's a causality of his choice. So what was that choice to get him there? And what I agree with you. I wouldn't say it's a snooze fest. I'm unimpressed. I again, going back to the Black Panther film, Killmonger is a great villain, right? Like, I think he's a very good motivated villain, but he has the same problems in the end of that movie that he has here. Is he's just good at everything, and why is he the best at everything? And that causes him to be like at the center of like all these, again, killing off all the people along, including Tony Stark and Don Cheadle, and then he invaded Wakanda, and then I was like, he's gonna turn those robots back on and then blame it on somebody else, and lo and behold, he did that. Like, he's trying to get to the top. I thought he was going to kill the king when he was by the king with him, like, alone on top of that mountain. I'm like, he's just going to kill the king and be like, I'm now the king of Wakanda, and like, that's how he got to power. And take over the world. But like, I don't know. It feels like he's just good at everything, and I'm like, that's fine, but like, I don't like it. Like, it doesn't present a challenge to anything along the way. And
yeah, like I'll give the episode props of it was believable to me. Like if Tony Stark kind of was rescued and didn't get imprisoned in that terrorist cave, I think it is very believable that he may have not have become Iron Man and he still kind of would have been this jerk. And I see him kind of like fawning over like this badass guy that saved him. So that is very believable.
He would still make a suit for non-war purposes, but it's still a violent suit no matter what he did. So I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, and he was just like, we need to build more stuff to protect our boys. I was like, okay, like I see this change working. But yeah, ultimately at the end of the episode, not much really changed, which is kind of almost insulting to say for like some of the characters that just like straight up died in the episode, right? Like, oh, they're just dead. A lot has changed for them. But like, I feel like you mentioned, like these what if episodes should have like these big like consequences where things are radically different. And I feel like, at the end of the day, like Killmonger still eventually makes it to Wakanda. He puts on a Black Panther suit. I guess there's no Black Panther to come back and beat him up and ultimately defeat him. But it was just like, oh, okay, I guess things changed a little bit. It's not too exciting.
What this one suffers from the most is I believe it is setting up a sequel episode in season 2 more than any other episode, because it ends on a really, really weird note with like, hey, everybody's dead, but like the girls are going to come back and get him somehow. Like, we'll show the world he's evil kind of thing. And we're like, okay, show it to me. And it just kind of leaves it. I'm like, this is like, I guess like it's not a cliffhanger, but it's like a deflated ending. We're like, yeah, we know how we're going to beat him. Like, okay, show us how you're going to beat him. Like, don't tell us like you're going to do it. Show us how you're going to do it. Or is this literally setting up for an episode next season? And we don't know it yet, because that would probably be the only way to redeem this episode, Mike, is if they showed the back half of it next season and there was a lot more cool stuff going on.
Yeah, and it gets like really crazy and things really, really change in the on planet Earth, if you will. I thought T'Challa kind of went out very easily, right? Killmonger shows up with some sort of like
it's the gun from Iron Man 1. That's what Obadiah uses on Tony to paralyze him, remember? And pulls the thing out of his chest. Yeah, it's the same thing but turned into a gun.
Yeah, but I mean, like you got T'Challa in this like futuristic like Wakandan suit, and it just like he basically nursed him instantly, and then he gets killed, and I was like, okay, that seemed a little bit too easy for Killmonger to take out that Black Panther. But yeah, overall, I would think this might be my least favorite episode, and which is a shame, because like I think the locale and all of the characters within Wakanda are just so interesting, but they all kind of just did the exact same stuff they did in their own movie that we've already seen, right? Like even in the throne room scene when Killmonger shows up, they're like all very
wary.
They're all very apprehensive. They're all very worried, and eventually things change. But I feel like I'm just watching the movie but animated right now.
Well, and then the other thing that again, T'Challa says in the other, he's like, your demons or the I guess the ghost will get you on this side or the other kind of thing, and there was no payoff for that, which is really, really awful for this episode, because it has two good things. If you want to go ahead, I'll let you, if you want to say something.
Oh, I was gonna say I would expect a turn of just like, if you drink what was, I don't remember if the liquid had a name.
Well, it's the heart-shaped herb, like the.
Yeah, like if you drink that, but the only reason you're drinking it is because you killed the previous Black Panther. Like maybe something horrible happens. Like I don't know. Maybe you like mutate, or you become cursed in some way,
haunted
like visibly. Maybe
I think haunted even by like the previous Black Panthers at all times, kind of thing. Like
or maybe even like lean into the aspect that this episode's animated, and maybe you could kind of do something you normally couldn't do in live action, like with the character there. Like maybe like a specter follows him around, or there could have been something interesting to do with that, because I did think it was really cool when he went to that afterlife area. You're like, you're talking to your like cousin that you just murdered. Like there could be an interesting scene happening here, and then it just kind of ends.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That on both sides of it, the real world and spiritual world ends. But I will give it two credits again. Again, the voice acting superb. Like, I'm so glad they got the real the actors to voice these characters, because I think that sells the quality of the show. No matter, even if the story sucks, I still feel it was a great show because of that, right? Like, Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, all the people, even the Queen and King had their original, actors doing the voices again. So I think that's a real, even Claw, what's his name, Andy Serkis come back. So huge credit to Marvel for snagging all this talent and doing that.
Also, but Andy Serkis literally dies again in the exact same way. It was just like, I thought they were going to use this opportunity to keep Andy Serkis's Claw character living, right? You give him some more cool Claw abilities, like maybe he could be like T'Challa's right hand, or secret insurgent or something like that. And he's like, no, he just shoots him in the head.
They never
again.
turned Claw to his actual audio or sound form in the MC. Like, this would have been a great chance to do that, because you don't have to actually do it. It's animated. But the second credit during the scene where the Dora Milaje and even the Queen are fighting the robots, some of those single takes and that action and animation were fantastic. Like, I really love the animation style and the fluid motion of all those characters through that, because some of those single takes to it looks like a single take, but it's animation. So, but it would go from one to the other, and they were killing the robots. It looked really, really cool. And I thought, of everything, that scene will stick out in my head for the rest of even if the rest of it doesn't. So
there was definitely some striking visuals there too, like when the robots come in and it's the super wide shot and you just see the red lights in the distance. That was pretty ominous. I did like the joke too of when we see the first holographic blueprints of it. The first thing I thought of that looks like a Gundam, and then they literally say that in the show of just what can I say? I like anime, and it's just okay. I appreciate it that they didn't try to hide the direct influence of what this thing looks like.
So I agree. So I mean, this is at worst, this isn't a bad episode. It's just middle of the road compared to other TV shows. But of the 6, this is the not my favorite one by far. So I think we both agree there with that. So that's pretty easy. Anything else you want to add about the What If, Mike? 3 more episodes left.
Yeah, that's right. Just a couple more episodes, and we just got a couple more days until we watch the next one. It'll be a marathon with some Star Wars visions. Yep. Got some animation here in our future. And I'll watch a little bit more Castlevania this week, probably too. So
save room for dessert with the Great British Bake Off, Mike.
Well, it could be a savory week. I mean, usually the first week is sweet, because that's really what the heart of the show is baking sweet stuff. But who knows? It could be savory.
They're not going to start with Bread Week though, and that's a fact. We all know it's never Bread Week. So, we're showing our cards here. Anyway, Mike, let's wrap up the show. I am starving, so I'm going to eat dinner. So let's wrap this up. If people want to find you, know what you're doing, where can they get you at?
Yeah, you can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
Find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. Message me over there. People know about the show, what we do, and the reviews. Catch our older Shang-Chi review. Get ready for our upcoming Venom review. Where can they find all these at?
Oh, I'll make it short and sweet. All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and the Gram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. If you want to be a super fan of the show, it's so easy to do. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks. Stay tuned, and watch out for soggy bottoms.
That's right. You don't want a soggy bottom. You will not get a handshake for a soggy bottom. That's for sure.
That's right. Not from those baby blue eyes.
See you guys next week.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Oh man, I blew out my Fitness Pal this week.